The death toll in one middle American town continues to rise as 60 people were found dead and emergency crews can't keep up with the calls that continue to pour in. President Trump had warned of what was coming to prevent these deaths, and now it's time to take urgent action, as he's announced in a shocking message to Americans. With all the focus recently being on Chicago and the immense amount of shooting deaths there are in that war zone every day, a bigger issue has presented itself just a couple states away in Ohio. The Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner has confirmed that 60 people died 1 month earlier from the same alarming cause, which brings the total deaths from this to 109 this year for just this one small part of Ohio. However, the issue is widespread across the country and only getting worse, which is why Donald Trump wants to do something about it now. Fatal drug overdoses now surpass car deaths in America thanks to the increased use, availability, and abuse of heroin, fentanyl, or a combination of the two that come into the country from wide-open borders and unchecked immigrants. With each month comes a new record number of deaths from this drug, not just in Ohio, but nationwide. This number could increase because 7 cases are still awaiting further toxicology testing. Of the fatalities last month, 36 were Cleveland residents, Fox 8 reported. Trump is well aware of the opioid epidemic that claimed 52,000 lives in 2015, which was the most amount of overdoses in a single year in U.S. history. This is part of the reason he's wanting to crack down so hard on the border. During his joint address to Congress, the president said that he will build a great wall along our southern border, in part to dramatically slow the flow of narcotics pouring into the U.S. at an unprecedented rate. Our terrible drug epidemic will slow down and ultimately stop, Trump promised in his speech, Vox reported. Although a wall won't stop it completely, he's the first to address the epidemic that's gotten worse while it was ignored the last 8 years. While Trump was criticized for his comment that the wall would stop the flow of drugs, it's a step in the right direction and he's at least ready to do something about it, whereas his predecessor was not. America does not need more of what comes in illegally over the border, whether it's people, drugs, or both. The president recognizes that there's an epidemic in this country of opioid abuse that's killing more people than car accidents. He's not willing to look the other way and ignore it, like Obama did. He's made it a top priority in his presidency as a way to make America great again by sparing families this great loss. The Washington Post reports, President Trump said Thursday that the opioid epidemic, which is killing more than 100 people each day, is the worst drug crisis in American history, and said his administration is declaring it a public health emergency, pledging the nation's full resolve in overcoming it. Addressing it will require all of our effort, and it will require us to confront the crisis in all of its very real complexity, Trump said during a speech in the East Room of the White House, where he was joined by First Lady Melania Trump and New Jersey Gov. Chris Christie, chairman of a presidential commission on combating the crisis. As Americans, we cannot allow this to continue, Trump said. It is time to liberate our communities from the scourge of drug addiction. We can be the generation that ends the opioid epidemic. We can do it. With Trump's declaration, the federal government will waive some regulations, give states more flexibility in how they use federal funds, and expand the use of telemedicine treatment, according to senior administration officials who briefed reporters on Thursday morning. Trump's announcement drew sharp criticism from Democratic lawmakers and some public health advocates, who questioned his commitment to the crisis. Given that Trump made no immediate request to Congress for emergency funding, America is hemorrhaging lives by the day because of the opioid epidemic, but President Trump offered the country a band-aid when we need a tourniquet, said Sen. Edward J. Markey, D.M.S. Today's announcement is nothing more than a dog and pony show in an attempt to demonstrate the Trump administration is not ignoring this crisis. It's refreshing to have President connected with the people. While some may feel like addicts make their choices and deserve to die, Trump recognizes that the problems are affecting families to a deep extent that will translate into societal issues the country could suffer from for years to come.